Good morning, all. We set aside this time for brief announcements that will be of interest to our community and friends. Please be succinct when announcing upcoming events or dates. And if you have an announcement, please raise your hand, and when Andy or I call upon you, come up to the podium or unmute yourself and then speak. I'd like to start by saying we are having a women's meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock here in the sanctuary. Anybody who might be interested in joining us, please see me after the service.
Good morning. On Wednesday, December 24th, we would typically have a Christmas Eve service. However, this year the worship committee has decided to do something a little bit different and make it a casual gathering rather than a very formal service as we've done in the past. So this means that we're inviting any of you who show up here for that evening, that if you wish to share something, whether it's a written piece or a piece of music, that kind of thing, that's great. And we'll have holiday refreshments throughout the time that we're together. And we're going to expand it from 1 hour to 2 hours, so it doesn't feel rushed or anything. However, we have not really set a start time officially. And typically in the past, we've had these services start from 7 to 8 o'clock. But this year, we could, well, I just wanted to canvass the group for those of you who think you might be coming here to participate and just hang together for Christmas Eve, when you would like to start that 2-hour session, whether it's at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, or 6 o'clock. I'm not going to push for 7. That's pushing it to the evening. But
6 to 8, 6.
So does 6 o'clock sound okay? So we're just expanding to, all right, so we'll go with 6 to 8 o'clock. I guessed right. So it's already in the newsletter. And again, just for your information, bring some holiday fare that you like. And if you would like to share something, whether it's a poem, a reading, anything like that. But we encourage you to present something or share something that's quote unquote published. We don't want people to come up here and treat this as an open mic. Or personal memory is fine. But but it's not a joy and concerns kind of session. Okay, so if you do that, we would prefer just have something structured so that you come up here and share that with us, and then allow others to do the same.
45 minutes for that.
Yeah. So it's going to be we'll be doing activities up here, and then just socializing back and forth, very loose and casual. That's how we're going to run it.
I know it's going on.
Okay. Bye.
Hi, just quickly, men's group meets tomorrow here in the sanctuary at 10 a.m. and on Zoom. If you want to check your email, I'll send out a Zoom link for those who can't make it in person. 10 a.m. tomorrow, the men's group.
So December 13th at the Los Osos Community Center is the 20th Annual Needs and Wishes benefit that supports Prado Day Center and the NOR Clinic. It's an all-volunteer event, silent auction, buy toys at Santa's Toy Shop, they get a free hot dog, and there's entertainment all day long. It goes from 11 to 6. I have flyers in my car. I'll bring them in before I leave today. So if you're interested, it's got all the information. It's also on the website, which is People Helping People. I'll have to leave that too. I'm sorry, I can't remember. Search People Helping People and you will probably find it. It's at Los Osos Community Center, December 13th from 11 to 6.
Next week, Steve Nathanson will present Stuck or Unstuck? Tools for Managing Life's Transitions. Let us take a moment to still our hearts, quiet our minds, and center ourselves. We welcome all to our live congregational service. As with all live performances, they are an exercise in attention, presence, and of honing the mind. So turn off the noise of the outside world, settle in your chairs, and when you find your soul is listening, allow the deeper meaning to become part of who you are. Dolores Miera will light the chalice here in the sanctuary. And those of you at home, you are invited to light your own chalice now. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope as a sign of our quest for the truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. Before we sing the first hymn, let me remind our remote participants to leave yourselves muted. However, we want you and whoever is with you to sing with us as big and loud as you like. Make it a joyous experience. So please stand in body and or spirit and sing the opening hymn, We Shine Our Light, words and music by Leah Orchinik.
This is another new hymn, but it's easy, so we're just going to launch into it. 1, 2, 3. We shine our light in search of hope. We shine our light in search of hope. Each path is a road, but we're not alone. We shine our light in search of hope. We give our heart in search of love. We give our heart in search of love. Each path is a road, but we're not alone. We give our heart in search of love. We speak our mind in search of truth. We speak our mind in search of truth. Each path is a road, but we're not alone. We speak our mind in search of truth. We rest our arms in search of peace. We rest our arms in search of peace. Each path is a road, but we're not alone. We rest our arms in search of peace.
Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist community of Cambria. We are glad you have joined us today. Our UUCC sanctuary sits on land that the Salinan and Chumash indigenous peoples historically inhabited. We honor their contribution to this region and give thanks for the opportunity to gather in faith on their unceded territory. Let us respect their legacy and protect their history as we occupy this sacred space. As Unitarian Universalists, we celebrate religious diversity and welcome all who journey in search of faith and spirituality. The UUCC is a lay-led congregation run by the democratic process. We invite speakers from different religious traditions and spiritual or scientific backgrounds, as well as community leaders, to speak at our pulpit. We encourage presentations covering a variety of topics and areas that interest and that connect us with the UU7 principles and 6 values: equity, transformation, pluralism, generosity, justice, and interdependence, with love at the center, touching all. Today's service centers around pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. My name is Diane DeMarco, and I am your worship associate for this morning's service.
Hi, Diane.
Hello. We extend a special welcome to today's guests and visitors. We're glad you have joined us this morning. If you wish, please introduce yourself or your guest. If you're not on the mailing list, please visit the UUCC website at uuccambria.org so we can keep you informed about all of our activities. Members and friends, please check out What's Happening, the e-blast sent to you every week. This is a great way to keep up to date with our latest news. To see this or any other past Zoom services, the recordings can be found on the UUCC website. So again, good morning and welcome to everyone. The affirmation is both a recognition of the nature of this community as well as a promise to which we aspire. Let us now recite the UUCC affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth and freedom, and to help one another. Now is the time for sharing your heartfelt joys and concerns with this, your spiritual community. The collective flames of these candles embody all the joys and concerns which may have gone unspoken today, but are dearly felt in this community. The first reading is an excerpt from Nelson Mandela. I have walked that long road to freedom. I have tried not to falter. I have made mistakes along the way. But I've discovered the secret that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. I have taken a moment here to rest, to steal a view of the glorious vista that surrounds me, to look back on the distance I have come. But I can only rest for a moment, for with freedom comes responsibilities, and I dare not linger, for my long walk is not ended. Let us join in a time of meditation, of prayer, and of silence. Let us seek the quiet and the calm, laying aside our struggles, and in the silence, may there be a reverence in our hearts, a thankfulness within our spirit, and a deepened understanding of the meaning of our lives. Let us enter the stillness. May we find the compassion and empathy we need to strengthen relationships. May we find ways to love each other well, and may we not judge or condemn, but rather build a beloved community. The second reading is a poem from ICE detention in El Paso, Texas, written by Cata Sochi Santiago on August 10th, 2025. Today marks 1 week since the encounter with the Border Patrol agent in the El Paso, Texas airport. A racist white man saw me as a disposable person. Today marks 1 week of not being able to see the sunsets every evening, of not being able to feel the warmth of the land, of not being able to sprout seeds or hear the elders and the children laugh. It's been a week full of stories of strife, rooted in forced immigration, and to come face to face with the criminalization of the immigrant, getting to see the innards of the for-profit prison system that surveils every move we make, that locks us far away from our loved ones, where the lights are on day and night. Today's talk is entitled Indivisible, with Liberty and Justice for All, to be delivered by Cesar Vaqsquez. Cesar Vaqsquez, an 805 Rapid Response Network full-time employee, resides in Santa Maria, California, and leads multiple teams of volunteers for the nonprofit organization. He trains volunteers and delivers donations to families separated by ICE. He watches every single video of people being taken into custody by immigration agents to make sure they aren't forgotten. 3 years ago, Cesar founded a nonprofit organization called La Cultura del Mundo to offer resources to students from immigrant families. Cesar was quoted in the Tribune, November 23rd, front page, as saying, quote, "With everything I've seen, with everything I've heard, it's been very easy for me to fall into periods of hate, but I'm really trying to ensure that if I'm leading a movement, that movement is being led with love. Because the second we lead anything with hate, we are the oppressor." Cesar's sister described him as my little brother. He is resilient. He is a change maker. He is a freedom dreamer. Did I mention Cesar Vaqsquez is 17 years of age? Cesar.
Thank you all very much for having me here today. It's good seeing some familiar faces, some faces I've seen before. I plan to give a very specific, talk today, but this morning I drove from LA. It's a very long drive coming to Cambria, and I drove through the valley where I drove, and I saw a lot of beautiful hills. I saw a lot of beauty in the world today. Maybe 40 to 50 minutes ago, 40 to 50 minutes from here, I was driving and it was very foggy, very, very foggy. I couldn't see anything. And in front of me, I saw lights, red and blue lights. And I thought, it's a cop, I gotta slow down because I'm not going the speed limit, right? And then I realized that what I thought were cops were actually ICE agents, but ICE agents from Kern County. And I very quickly realized that I was witnessing a kidnapping as I was driving by, without me out there looking for it, without me planning on it. I was just trying to drive here, right, to talk about what's happening in the community. I had to witness my 5th kidnapping today. It's happening every day. At the beginning of trainings, the newer trainings that I give, I ask people to say hi to each other and give each other's name, but it seems that you all already know each other. And in this room, I assume that there's maybe 20 people, and across Zoom, 30 people. And I tell people at our trainings that, if in 3 days, if you all looked like you were undocumented, this entire room would be gone and in detention centers within 3 days. Wow. And this is only by the ICE agents that affect San Luis Obispo County and North Santa Barbara County. And so this is not including any other county apart from Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo County. And so to think that those agents can separate this entire room within 3 days is insane to hear. As I pulled into the parking lot today, my team alerted me that there were 2 raid vehicles in San Luis Obispo. So as this congregation was happening, as we're all meeting right now, ICE is taking someone maybe 30 to 40 minutes away from us. This is right now, right as we speak. And, today I I realized as I got here that this is the first time in months that I've been able to mourn what's been happening to these families. That it's the first time that I've been able to sit for 30 minutes without looking at my phone every single minute, and was able to close my eyes and was able to, have some time to process what's going on, and I shed some tears because it was the first time I was able to mourn everything that I've been seeing that is happening as we speak, and that is happening on a daily basis. And today I want to focus on just that, what's happening in the community, what we're seeing, and more importantly, what it's doing to people, right? We think about what it's doing to the country, and it hurts, but today I want to focus on what it's doing to the people, what it's doing to us, and what it's doing to me, which is very different from what I thought I'd be talking about today. And so I want to share some unfortunate statistics about what we've been seeing. So I'm going to share some numbers about how many people have been kidnapped across Ventura County, Santa Barbara County, and San Luis Obispo County. And this is a minimum number, right? This is the minimum number of what we've seen, or what volunteers have reported to us, or what have families reported to us. We believe that this number is doubled or tripled, right? Since January, since Donald Trump was inaugurated, there have been 1,076 confirmed kidnappings across Ventura, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo County. Of those 1,076, we only have contact with 744 of those families, which means that there is a good around 300 families that we do not have contact with, and there is a good chance that they might not even know what happened to their family member. In San Luis Obispo County, there have been 61 confirmed kidnappings. But to put into perspective how inaccurate that number is, we only had volunteers in San Luis Obispo as of 3 to 4 months ago. And we only had active volunteers in San Luis Obispo as of 2 months ago. And so these numbers are coming from just these past 2 months. So we don't know what the other 9 months hold. 3 have been taken in Arroyo Grande, 37 San Luis Obispo, 3 in Atascadero, 1 in Oceano, 1 in Grover, 7 in Paso, 2 in Ipomo, and 1 in Guadalupe. And these are only undocumented individuals that have been taken. We don't keep count of the documented individuals that have been taken. And there have been a lot. As of 2 to 3 weeks ago, there was a man who drove from Templeton to Nipomo, was stopped in Nipomo by ICE, and was taken into custody. And he was a U.S. citizen. He was born in L.A. And so I want to go over what I do, right? What my day-to-day looks like. It's not easy, and some people in this room have had to share those day-to-days with me. But I spend my time supporting the families. I look over all the families that have been separated in Santa Barbara County and San Luis Obispo County, as well as all the volunteers across the 2 counties, all the projects that's going on, everything that is going on within the 2 counties regarding ICE, deportation, and immigration. I look over, right, which means my days look very different, where if I was in San Luis Obispo right now, or before I got here, I wouldn't be here, because I'd be handling that. But it just so happened that I took I think it's the 140, and then had to witness a kidnapping on the way here. But so that, my day-to-day is taking care of the families, taking care of the volunteers, transporting families, feeding the families. There are a lot of families that are being fed. We're feeding around 25 families a week in Santa Maria alone. We're bringing that to San Luis Obispo, hoping to add another 10, to feed 30 to 40 families a week. But of course, with that, we need food donations. We need donations to make sure those families are actually fed. We're also doing a toy drive. You know, there's 1,076 individuals that have been taken across 3 counties. If we just assume that every single one of those had 3 kids, and I mean, I have 4 sisters, I have 3 sisters, so that isn't too big of a stretch. I know how my community is. That's around 3,000 kids that are gonna need toys, this upcoming, holiday season. And so right now we have different boxes around San Luis Obispo, around Santa Maria, for people to donate toys. We don't want them to be wrapped. Our goal is to drive to family, and to open a trunk and say, here, pick a toy. Have the freedom, have that little freedom to pick a toy and choose, what will make you happy. And so if you all want to donate, can donate, I am more than happy to drive down here. Up here, the air in Cambria is absolutely, it's beautiful. I have asthma, and the air in Cambria makes me feel like I don't have asthma. So, I'm always happy to drive here. And so if you guys are willing to donate, we can coordinate that, and I'll be here for a while after. And so, yeah, those are kind of announcements, background. I want to share some stories of what we're seeing on the ground. One of the first family I ever helped was a father where his 2 kids and his pregnant wife were detained. I had gotten a call that they were detained and that he was asking for donations to bring things to his family so that they could have something when they were deported. I luckily got clothes the night beforehand, and I had it in a bag. I went to Goodwill, got a purple suitcase, because I wanted to make sure that, she felt like a human, not like a victim. And when I got to the ICE office, the ICE agent told me that that no one was there anymore, that they had already been deported. And then I was the person who had to call the father and explain that his kids and his wife was no longer here in this country. The next day, I was the person who had to remove his kids from all the services that they were getting, had to navigate all the dashboards to remove them because they were gone. And then about a month later, he called me asking if I can help pay for boxes to send all the items to Mexico. And so I spent the day, helping him pack, put his kids' shoes, toys, clothes in boxes and sent them over. He's still here, and I see him every few weeks. I bring him food, whenever we can, and he spends a good 30 minutes just showing pictures of his kids, of his wife, and he talks to them, but it won't be years until he sees them. I was dropped as 805 on DocuFund. We deliver checks to families. There's $1,000 check, that we give to every family once they've had a loved one taken, for rents, for legal services, whatever it may be. And I was delivering checks in Paso Robles. And there was a wife that I was dropping off a check to. I went to drop it off, and she had a baby in her hand. And, I was talking with her. I was seeing how she was doing, what she needed. And I asked how old her kid was. And she said a month old. And I didn't think too much about it. And then I got in my car. I drove to Santa Maria once I was done delivering checks. And I looked up her information in our database. And I saw that her husband was taken a month ago, which means that her husband either missed the birth by a few days, a week, or was there and then immediately deported. And to me, that means that for a few years at least, there's going to be a baby with no parent. The mom has to stay here to work, to try to send money to him, to try to create a better life for the for their kid, but now she's alone, and now the baby is without a parent. And today, listening to everything that's talked about within these walls, it makes it very difficult to continue going forward, right? You read the quote about trying to lead this movement with love, and it's very, very hard. It's very hard to lead this movement with love when my day, every single day, is speaking with these families who've had a loved one taken away from them. They've had a kid taken, a parent taken, a sibling taken, and I'll be completely honest. I'm filled with rage. I'm filled with sadness, and a family is taken, and then another family is taken within a few hours. And so by the time I'm done helping one, figuring out another one gets taken. And so there never is that time to mourn, right? After a long day, I think, okay, I need to sleep, and then I have to do work to organize and try to help the community set up trainings. And like last night, I fell asleep at 2 a.m. This morning, I had to wake up at 5 a.m. to drive here. And I'm very glad I did, because, those 30 minutes that I was able to mourn finally is worth a lot more than any other amount of time. And it's very hard to lead this movement with love when we are constantly, and I'm constantly surrounded by this sadness and this hate, but it's spaces like this, it's communities like this, it's communities like our volunteers, right? We're always eating together and talking about life together. That's what allows these movements to be led with love. It's people coming together, people holding each other and allowing each other to mourn with each other. That's what allows us and helps us, lead this movement with love. And it's very, very hard. It is very, very hard to lead this movement with love. In the article, it talks about the struggles that come with being a rapid responder, right? We see the families being taken in front of us. Me as a staff member, all the videos that our volunteers take, every picture, everything they witness, they report back to me. And I watch through every single video, through every single perspective, and I sometimes have to rewatch a kidnapping, 10 times over, because there's 10 different perspectives. And it puts into perspective, but only slightly, what these families are actually going through. There are so many families where I visit them, and they are stuck in a cycle of sadness, right? Where they're working, they're having to take care of their child, and then they come home and they're mourning, because in a lot of ways they have lost someone in their life. And there have been a lot of instances where individuals have been lost inside detention centers who are from San Luis Obispo County, who are from Santa Barbara County. We're hearing about these stories from Chicago, Portland, from across California, but a lot of these stories that we're hearing are happening here, right? A few weeks ago, kids were being tied up with zip ties in Chicago. And then about a week or two after, there was a raid in Oxnard where a U.S. citizen, but a kid, was also zip tied. And so what we're seeing, everywhere is happening in our backyards. I want to spend more time speaking with you all, making sure to have a conversation, because conversations are always better for me than speaking, and so I'd love to answer any questions and just have an open dialogue with you all, and I'll be here afterwards too. Yeah.
Did you have a chance to finish high school?
I I did. So I actually graduated early. That was not to be impressive, but that was just, high school was a lot for me. You know, the article touches a bit on like my mental health struggles, right, as an activist leading this movement. But I was at a campus that was very, there was a lot of discrimination at times, and so I often felt very out of place, which led to a lot of imposter syndrome and anxiety, which led me to decide to graduate early. And I'm very open about that. A lot of people aren't open about their mental health struggles, but I choose to be, because it's a lot more normal, than most people think. And when I speak to classrooms and I speak to students, I let them know about my struggles. And, there's always a student or two that come up to me afterwards, asking to talk, asking for advice. And so, yeah, I graduated. I was planning on going to San Diego State. And then the world went to hell. And the day, my last day of high school, I decided not to go to college. And then I walked across the stage the next day, and then spent every day of summer organizing, patrolling. And then around August, I got hired on. I've been organizing since I was 12. And so I have a lot of experience, which allowed me to get hired on early on. And so, yeah, this is what I do 24/7 now. Yeah.
For my question, I just want to comment, you are mature and brave beyond your years, my friend. And I really salute you. My question is this, in the experiences you had, have you seen that were these targeted, or there's a certain methodology that these kidnappers are using? And can you, give any insights of how to help people avoid that in some way?
Yeah, so, I mean, with what we're seeing in LA and Oxnard, we see a lot of these randomized kidnappings where they're picking people off the sides of the streets. But what we're seeing in San Luis Obispo and in Santa Barbara is that same randomness is happening, but they're strategic about it. So we've seen them go to like events for low-income individuals. We are very confident that they're working with the San Luis Obispo Sheriff, Santa Barbara Sheriff, Ventura Sheriff. We know that there's leaks within different legal systems in the counties that are also supplying this information to ICE agents. And so we know that they're getting people that way, but we also know that they're just going out, getting targets and then trying to understand when they go to work, right, when they come home, and then taking them there. The ICE agents in Santa Maria try to be very quiet, which is why, we're not seeing every kidnapping like we're seeing them across the country, right? But they're happening on a daily basis where, almost pretty much 10 people are being taken a day. The most that, we've seen is 16 people taken a day. In that 16, there was a family of 6 where one of the little girls couldn't even walk. Around 2 days ago, there was a family of 4 that was taken, and they had 2 children. And for us, we know that they're being taken, but we don't know who they are, right? All we have is pictures or videos, and that's it. And then I watched through them all, but it's randomized, but they're also getting information from leaks within different counties. Yes.
So you said you need food and supplies and toys, right? So we should accumulate that and then figure out how to get it to you, as opposed to you having to drive out here. You can meet at the...
Well, if the biggest thing will always be diapers. We're spending around $500 on diapers alone a week, and they're going through very quick. Unfortunately, a lot of the families have a lot of newborns and kids, and so if there's anything, it's mostly diapers. Everything else, we get mostly, but diapers is the biggest thing. If you guys have baby clothes, your grandkids grew out of some clothes, out of strollers, toys, and then also just funds in general. There are a lot of families who need a lot of help who can't get it in a public manner. They can't get it by a nonprofit. They need help very silently, very quietly. And so, whenever there's cash, whenever there's checks where, it can't be tracked back to the family, that's also always needed. There's a lot of families where they know that they're a target and they can't risk being taken. They can't risk being deported. And so, there comes times where families need that support, to be safe and get a safe place. I mean, we can talk about that afterwards too, but there's always need for the very quiet support outside of the diapers, and the toys. In Santa Barbara County and San Luis Obispo County, we're assuming that there's around 900 toys that we need to collect, to be able to support every single family in Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo County, which is a lot of toys, but that's also a lot of kids. And, we're trying to be very intentional with it. My parents, they're undocumented. They came from Mexico, my mom when she was 14, my stepdad when he was 16, and they've been here ever since. But that's why I know how important it is to get a toy, that I like, because we would get toys, and I know that it was like the best thing my parents could do, but it wasn't a toy that, we enjoyed most times. And so we want to make sure that we're giving kids toys that they enjoy, where they don't feel like they're victims or they're getting, the last toy, but they're getting a toy, that they truly want. And what my parents are feeling and seeing, a lot of families are feeling and seeing. My father, for example, he's lost his father and his brother since he's been here, but he hasn't seen them since he was 16 because they were back in Mexico. And so he's had to mourn every loss alone here, right? My mom, I remember I was in, I think, 4th grade when she FaceTimed her mom for the first time, and saw her face for the first time since she's left. And my mom's, I think, now 47. Don't tell her I told you that. But, that was maybe 10, 15 years, maybe like less than 10 years ago now, which means that she went a good 20, 30 years, without having to see her mother or hear her mother's voice, see her mother's face. And, my fear is that a lot of these kids will see that, will have to go through that, where they won't be able to see their parents' face because they have been deported or they will be deported. And right now we're only seeing more and more people being taken. They're only becoming more and more aggressive. We're seeing new ICE agents, we've gotten maybe 10 new ICE agents since when I've started, but that's why volunteers and people out there need to grow. The only thing that gives me joy at night sometimes is knowing that one day I hope I'll be able to tell the ICE agents in their face that every volunteer they've had to interact with was trained by a 17-year-old, and every single bit of organizing and every time we've been able to help a family before they've gotten to them, has been organized by a 17-year-old. And so if there's one thing I hope they know, and that gives me something to laugh at sometimes, is that. So yeah. Yes.
I can't help but reflecting today. My kid worked for a couple of years for Center for Open Safety up in the city, dealing primarily with battered women and abused people. Until the death threats got to be too much. All I can say to you, sir, is do take the time to take care of yourself. You cannot continue to experience the madness that you're in without taking the time to self-care. Please do it.
I try, and there's beautiful moments like this. And, my hope, and I tell people this, is that one day, hopefully sooner than later, I'll be able to get a cabin, somewhere in Cambria or somewhere secluded, where I don't have to talk to anyone, where I don't have to give any interview, see any other video. My hope is that one day I'll just be able to find a cabin and spend the rest of my life meditating and reading, and that's my goal. That's what I'm striving for. But yes, definitely, I'm trying to take care of myself in these moments, and it's hard, definitely. And then there's also the physical threats, right? The ICE agents know my name. They know where I live. I spoke at the No Kings Day, and they followed me from Santa Maria to the No Kings Day protest. And so the physical threat is very much there, and there's less I can do for that, but I'm hoping the cabin comes sooner than later. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you still wanting people to go down to Santa Maria and bear witness, so to speak, and take pictures? Because you talked about that last time.
Yes, we always need, more people who are willing to be out there, to be out there in the community, to be watching. We only know how many people are being taken when a family reports it, or volunteers in front of it, or if we see people being loaded off and on into vans at the Santa Maria ICE office. And so, the more people we have at the Santa Maria ICE office, the more hours we have looked at it, the more accurate information that we get, and the more likelihood that we're able to find these families. Sometimes a family contacts us and they let us know that they've had a loved one taken between this and this time. And, if we have people at the ICE office, we can know, okay, they got here at this time. That means they're probably in LA already, or they've already been deported, right? A lot of these individuals that are being taken, they're being deported within the same day. They're probably the individual that was taken today in San Luis Obispo, if he's from Mexico, will probably be in Tijuana by the end of the day. And then from there, it's up to him to, in their mind, to figure out how to get home. And that's like being dropped off in New York and expected to get to California, with no support. These families are going through a lot right now. Yeah. Yes. Okay. I'll be sticking around if you guys have more questions, more thoughts. But thank you all for having me. And then, I'm more than happy to give you all my email, my contact information, so we can get some more projects and support going. But thank you all. Thank you all.
The morning offering will now be given and received. Please remember, we are a self-sustaining congregation and provide all financial resources for our many ministries. We recognize the spiritual value of generosity and invite you to participate. If you are viewing this service remotely, please use one of the methods shown on the screen. Thank you.
But it's about ordinary people living ordinary lives, like we all should be allowed to do.
our thanks for all gifts given and received and for the work of this community. Please stand in body or spirit and sing the closing hymn, This Little Light of Mine, number 118 in your hymnal.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Yeah, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
As we prepare to extinguish the chalice, let us recite the valediction. It is our work shared with each other in covenant that creates and sustains this beloved community. We extinguish this chalice as the light of this faith lives on in us, together in our hearts, minds, bodies, and spirits. Please extinguish your chalice at home now. Now we're going to form a circle and join hands, and Cesar will lead us in the final words.
Thank you all for having me, and thank you all for being here. I hope this can be a reminder to lead, our lives with love and hope, even when it can feel impossible, and know that, every single one of us has the power to create change that is everlasting, and change that might not always be recognized, but someone will always remember it. So thank you all for being here and having me.
Thank you. Thank you.